Give us an idea of what it takes to make this a smooth process, because you mentioned before, like, so we're talking about every state, but not only every state, but every transaction. And not only that, but it's not just external transactions, meaning me, business to customer. We just said it, vendors, suppliers, we have to maintain our tax exemption certificates. This is quite complicated. How do you integrate? Where does it integrate? How does this all begin to work? Because when we check out at a terminal, we don't really see software. We see, of course, we see a payments terminal. Give us an idea of what it takes to bring this together.
Oh my God. So you're right. Everything you just described about the tumbler, taxes are very, very complicated. And we want to make it easy for the person selling the goods, the person filing the tax return. We want to make it less taxing. And what we say is more relaxing. Now, how do we do that? You asked a great question. First of all, Avalara aspires to be part of every transaction in the world. So think about like what a transaction is. You could have a store on a marketplace. You could be selling through an e-commerce platform. You could be buying a cup of coffee and you're using a point of sale system. All these different systems, ERPs, all have to calculate tax when they're sending an invoice or a document from one system to another. So what Avalara does is the very first thing we have to do is we have to understand all of the tax compliance content for where we do business. So every day we're going to tens of thousands of websites all around the world where this tax content is published, and we're making sure we have the latest up to date in our system. So we probably have one of the largest databases in the world of all of this tax compliance content. Then what we have to do is we have to be able to integrate or connect to all of these systems around the world that are actually processing the transaction. So in the coffee shop, the point of sale system that you use, if you're on a marketplace and you're buying something, we need to connect to that marketplace. So Avalara has over 1,000 integrations to different third-party systems all around the world that are processing these transactions. So we have to have the content, and we have a massive amount of tax content. We have to have a large number of integrations, and as I said, we have over 1,000 of them. And then those integrations are connecting back to our tax calculation engine. So when you swipe your credit card or you type in your credit card number and you're purchasing the item or the service, tax is getting calculated real time. So what's happening is that information comes to Avalara. We see the contents of your shopping basket. We see your location, the street address where you're purchasing the item, because we need to understand the tax consequences that are required. Where are you buying the item? Who's selling it to you? Where is it getting sold from? And where are we shipping the item to? Does tax need to be calculated on that transaction? And we have to figure all of that out in the blink of an eye. We actually calculate tax and we figure out if tax is required, if the calculation is exempt from tax. You mentioned a tax exemption certificate. We do all of that in the blink of an eye in milliseconds. And we're processing thousands of tax calculations like that every second for customers all around the world. That's sort of at a very high level what Avalara does. We've got to get the content, we've got to connect all these systems into Avalara's tax calculation engine, and then we've got to calculate the tax in a fraction of a second and return the calculation back to the system so that when your receipt prints in the coffee shop, you can see on it what the tax amount was, and we calculated the tax. And just to show you how complicated it is, when you buy a cup of coffee, you may also buy a bagel, and there may be different tax rates for the coffee.
Yeah.
Right, one is a beverage, another one is a food item. But what if the bagel is toasted, or what if the bagel is not toasted? If you're buying a bagel on its own, it's just a food item. But if they've toasted it, that means you're buying the food item and the service. So the person in the coffee shop has done something extra, and there may be a higher rate of tax. So we have to understand, is that bagel toasted or not toasted? That's the level of detail we have to get into.
Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more great IT thought leadership. And thanks to our partners at Salesforce Platform for making this show possible. Go to salesforce.com/newsletter to discover timely insights and useful tips tailored to your role.